Hi, welcome to Let's Learn Guitar Together, Lesson 2, which is about the major scale. Thanks for joining. If you haven't been here before, thank you for being here. If you have, welcome back. Our first lesson was all about learning the G or the B and the E string, the second and the first string. By the way, hopefully you've done some of that and starting to learn the notes because well, the cool thing is that the sixth string is also an E. So now we're on our way to learning 50% of all the notes on the fretboard. And before we get into the major scale, I want to actually start learning the third string, which is the G. And that will get us to 2/3 of all the notes on the fretboard. In this session, or these episodes and lessons are really all about helping you learn the guitar in a different way than just the standard way of playing. Get you out of that 3-fret mode, learn the entire fretboard itself and how to play it, from notes and scales to chords. So that's just going to give us a foundation to really become much better guitar players than we probably would have just as average guitar players. So before we get into things, I want to talk about a couple things. One is if you're new and you just bought a guitar, you may not have spent a lot of money on the guitar. It's not that that's necessarily the case, but most importantly, you may not have gotten the best action, which essentially, or playability, is how far the strings are from the fretboard. So if you find yourself really struggling, maybe take the guitar back to the guitar place you bought it, and they can adjust the rod for you so that hopefully you'll get a little better play. And you can do that yourself too. It's really pretty easy. It's a little delicate process, but certainly something you can do. Another consideration is maybe buy a used guitar. You can actually get maybe a better quality guitar for a lower price if it's used, and that should make it a little better play. So if you're thinking about your next guitar, that might be an option for you. Or if you just haven't bought one yet, you're borrowing somebody's guitar, that's probably a great way to do it as well. Third thing is maybe think about an electric. So if you really want to play lead and that kind of stuff, it might be a good idea to actually get an electric guitar too. I tend to play my electrics much more often than my acoustics. I do write songs on the acoustics quite often too, but I just kind of have tended to play most of my guitar on my electric guitar. All right, so let's get into the third string, the G string. And just like we did with the B and the E, let's start on the 12th. Right, we're getting away from way up here. And that mentality, because we were thinking about the whole guitar. So this would be a G on the 12th fret, third string, open. It's also a G. So we got all these notes in between. Just like before, we're going to work backwards and make it more difficult. Actually, I think it can help us learn. So let's go to a G. What comes before G? F, yeah, which was a whole step. Half step to E, hold to D, hold to C, half to B, hold to A, open, which should be a whole, to G. So G, A, B, half to C, D, E, half to F, G. And then we could go A, B, C all the way up as well. So again, we get this down with the G, B, and E strings. We're 2/3 of the way of learning the notes on the fretboard. By the way, if someone has taught you a mnemonic device to remember what the strings are. Now, in this case, we're really just learning G, B, and E at this point. G, B, E, G, B, E. It's very simple to learn. Please get rid of that mnemonic device. And if somebody wants to teach you, run away. Because the problem is you start looking down on your guitar. You want to go play that second string, which is the B. You go through the whole device. You're starting up here. And by the time you get down there, you're like, it's too late. You're too far down to really... you're too far along. It's not a natural process. So I really want you to look down and say, yeah, that's the B, that's a G, that's an E. And so focus that way. All right, so great. We just learned the third string, the G string. And this, like I said, it's just going to give us a much better knowledge of the fretboard. And talked about it before, most people never ever come close to doing this. So you're really far along just by doing this overall. All right, so let's learn the major scale. Why the major scale? From what I had gleaned and understanding from YouTube and other sources, it's kind of the core of music for the guitar. A lot of people don't play it because it's the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, da. So it gets kind of boring, right? It's not really why we're typically here. But what I found, and actually the song I was playing at the beginning of this is something I wrote, The Long Road, just so I could remember how to play the major scale and allow me to kind of experiment with it. I did post it on Instagram a few weeks ago, so some of you may have heard it there. Some people actually, wow, you've been playing a long time. And the truth is, I just learned it and played that song. And I'll be able to teach that to you as well, or at least part of it. So when people learn scales, or if you've ever tried, we typically go through a pattern. And then people go back and forth, and they go over and over and over again learning these scales. And it becomes very rote very quickly, and makes kind of like shredders would be doing almost. But the truth is, that's not how you play a scale typically, or it's definitely not the way I play them. You play pieces of it, and you can play both horizontally or you can play vertically. It's great to know, and you should know the full pattern, absolutely, and that really helps you make transitions from pattern to pattern. Like in pentatonic, there's multiple patterns depending on what chords you're playing, and that allows you to switch through the patterns easily. So you need to know the entire scale, but generally when you're playing, you're not playing that way. Okay, so what I want you to do, our third string we just learned the G, the fifth fret is a C, and we're going to start from a C, and we're just going to use this pattern. This is what's so cool about the major scale, is it's got a pattern that says, when from your root note you go whole frets, to one whole fret rather, to a half. So whole, half, whole, half. So 2.5 and 3.5. So let's just do that. We're at C, whole, half, whole, half. We're back to C actually. So see how fast we went through that? You're going to be able to play a lead like that up and down. People can go like, whoa, how'd you ever do that? You just started playing guitar. You got the major scale in your pocket. All right, so I'm actually going to play it vertically this time. So that's a little harder to do. But if you just trust yourself and listen, that's why the tuning is so important as well. Make sure you tune your guitar, if I didn't say that earlier, every time you sit down, because you want to make sure you're listening to the right sounds. So let's go C, D, then down on the fifth, E, F is a half step with a C key, G, A, B, C. So there's 7 notes, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, then we're back to C again. Cool. So say we're playing C. Now I know this is a C. I could just go back 2 wholes, a half, 3 wholes, a half. Whole, nope, I'm on C, so whole, half, whole, half. And it just went from playing here. Whoa, how easy is that? You got it. That's the major scale. So wherever you want to start off, you can start off whatever key you're in. We'll talk about keys in the 4th lesson. But whatever key you're in, do start off with that note, at least my understanding, which is minimal. And then just play that whole, half, whole, half pattern, up and down, vertically or horizontally across. And you heard it before, what I was playing, that's all that was the major scale that I was just fiddling around with, and wrote that song, Long Road, just so I really kind of understood the major scale and how it works. So that was actually in the key of G. So that we're going up to the 4th string now. We're learning more on the 5th fret, and that's a G string. On the D string is a G note on the 5th fret. So G, A, B, C, or really 1 whole, half, whole, half, back to G. So I'm going to go down. So what I was playing, I'm going to teach you this too. This is a great way to learn things that make a lead sound better. So it kind of creates some nuances instead of just playing. What I did on that, the opening of that, I go G to A to B, then back to A, then G. But I don't just play that. I hammer on A. So you can practice hammering. Just play the note, then hammer on it. And then I slide to B. Then I pull off, which is another way to do it. So I play it, then pull off, and slide down. And just kind of work my way up the scale. And back. So that's it. That's your major scale. Learn it, practice it. If you do have an acoustic that you're not going to be able to do this so easily, try playing it maybe down here. This is just a G, or E rather. G is your third. G, A, B on the third string. So make it a little bit easier to play, or just play it vertically, and that should work for you fine. Just find a G and just play it that way. Either way, practice. And so now we're learning all the notes on the fretboard. We have learned the major scale, and we know the pattern: whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So it's 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half. Not to confuse you, sorry. And now you got it. So our next lesson 3 is actually going to be playing chords from up here on the first 3 strings. So it's G, B, and E. And we're going to use 4 different patterns to do that. And eventually, we're going to be able to just create our full chords and play melody through scales all the way across this fretboard. And sure, we can get back and play this anytime we want. But we're going to learn the entire guitar this way. So cool. Thanks for joining. Peace. Till next time. Talk to you later. Bye.